Hey guys, welcome to another episode from Stacy Here We Grow Again. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We are going to talk about transplanting. So when to know how to transplant and when you should transplant. This Dracaena right here was in that little bucket right there, and you can see just how big she is getting. She's gorgeous. She's growing indoors. This is my indoor plant. It's a Dracaena compact Janet Craig, and she's doing really good, but you can see that she was starting to turn a little yellow around the sides down here because she was really root balled. Now her roots were twining around that pot more than 6, 7 times, 8 times, and it was going around and around and around, and you don't want that. When that happens, your plants tend to get stalled out and they just don't grow anymore. So this Dracaena is going to grow nice and good now. Since we repotted her, we went a step up. You can see that pot that she came out of right there, and she went a step up. So this is a 2.5 gallon, and that was about a gallon. And she's going to do really well in here. And I just want to show you the importance of transplanting, because it's really so important to know when to do this and, you know, what plant to transplant. So succulents are really different. They are, in my other videos, you can pack them suckers in a pot together. They don't have much of a root system, but these plants, like my Dracaena, my Nephituses, these Nephitus grow like crazy. And this is a pepper plant. I got 3 peppers in here, which are jamming out with my strawberries, which we are germinating from the house. We peeled our own strawberry seeds. You can see them. So that is just way too much in this container, and you can see it starting to turn yellow because they're all fighting for nutrients in here. So we have to separate those and transplant those pepper plants. I do have a video on how I do that when I plant them in their, you know, in the same container, so you guys can check that out. I'll try to link it below for you. But I just want to show you these roots now. This is my oregano that has been growing, that we've been cutting off of like crazy. I got so much oregano dried. I actually have a whole bottle of this already. Let me go grab it for you guys. Alrighty, so this is my oregano. I just saved my little containers that I buy from the store. Had garlic in it, so it's gonna have that garlic smell, but wash it out with some soap and water and dry your herbs on the counter. I have a video on how we do this. You can see just how much this is packed. Look at those herbs in there, fresh herbs from this plant. So dry your herbs. Always cut as you're growing. So all this is good to cut, and I'm gonna get in here and cut away all of this yellow. You can see she's starting to turn really yellow because she's root bound. So we always cut our herbs as we're growing, because sometimes this happens where they get stalled out, and you might get a period where you're without herbs and stuff for your garden. I'm going to actually start some more, so I'm one-handed here. But I want to show you the root system on this. See that? See how she takes shape of that pot? Now that's a good thing. You want your plants to kind of show a shape of that pot right here. Let me get in the sun. You can see she is just way too root bound. That is way too much root balls in there. She's way too bound. You can see she took shape of the side even. So when I look to transplant, I always look for signs of this. You know, make sure that you don't have any root balls that are twining around and around and around, because that means that it's too root bound. Now I can squeeze this and it does not come apart. And that's how you can tell this is nothing but roots. And when you water this, it's going to go straight down to the bottom of that pot without giving this plant any nutrients. We can kind of show you here. I want to show you what happens when you water this. This is how you know your plants are root bound. When you water, and that water's draining right out of that bottom like that without soaking this plant through, it should not be running straight out of the bottom. Now, it should run out of the bottom because you should have good drainage, but it shouldn't run out of that bottom that fast. If you're watering and that water's shooting right down to the bottom, you are root bound. I know this is root bound. Look at that. Roots coming out of the bottom. These Nephitus grow like crazy, so I'll have to transplant this or it'll start getting stalled out. Just like this little guy, he got stalled out. Now look at these roots. Look how root bound these are. This is a sign that you really need to transplant, because you can see they're starting to turn brown, and the Nephitus roots are kind of beigeish, but you can see how they're white up there, and that's what you're supposed to have. That is a no-go. I'm going to leave this in my spinach tote, but you can see this. So when I get this, I like to just, You don't want to break roots, so don't break anything. Just kind of swirl it around, let it breathe. This is going to tell the plant, okay, I can spread my roots now, thank you. So you just want to go around, spread them roots out just a little bit. You can see how bad they were twined because it's been sitting in here so long. And I left this in here purposely so I can show you guys what happens, you know, when they are stalled out compared to when you transplant, what they're going to look like. So we're going to get this in that pot we took the Dracaena out of, because that's going to be a really big pot for this. So I'm going to get some soil in here and get her in here, and I'll show you what this looks like after she takes off. And I'm going to show you after we transplant this oregano here. You know, we've done a lot of transplanting videos. I basically transplant all my produce and herbs and stuff the same, but with these root balled ones, I just wanted to show you, you know, when you're wetting that pot, they're too root bound. That is way too root bound. She needs to be transplanted, so I'm going to transplant her. Now, like I said, you should have a little form to the bottom of the pot, but nothing that's twining around 6-7 times. It should go around that pot and form that bottom maybe 2 or 3 times, and then you know you're good to go. But we're going to sift through this. We're going to pinch out all the dead, because this is what happens. Your plant will start to die. You can see it's getting choked out. That's what that means. When you hear, like, you know, fix your plants, or they're going to get choked out, or you hear somebody saying my plant's too choked out, that's what they're talking about. The roots are so choked that this plant can't breathe, it doesn't have room to grow, and it's just going to start killing itself off. You can see that. So I'm going to get in here, pluck all that yellow, and then we're going to come back in a few weeks to check this planter out. I'm going to get it into something big so it can spread its roots and grow for the rest of the summer, spring and summer here in Florida. Oregano is basically a perennial, so it flowers, I mean, it grows for a couple years and then it flowers after a few years. Unlike a basil plant that's back here, this basil is an annual. So basil is going to grow, flower, and then die off after it flowers, seed itself. You get seeds out of the flower stalks and then produce more basil to come. So we have to transplant this. You can see how linky and yucky these are. They're not growing. You can see they're starting to kill foliage off. And I left this in here to show you guys this, you know. This is so important. This plant's so stalled out because look at the size pot it's in. Now if I put it in something that big, this basil plant's going to rock out, jam out, be nice, healthy. So we're going to get these peppers transplanted, and then I'm going to come back and, you know, show you guys all the updates from this stuff. And I just want to go over there and show you my nephitis that we transplanted a few weeks ago to a month ago, because she's doing really good now. This is her. Isn't she beautiful? I love this plant. This one was just as small as that other one when I got it. I got it almost 2 years ago now, maybe a year and a half ago. But we've propagated off of this so many times. Check her foliage out, guys. See how much she filled the pot out? Now this nephitis plant, arrowhead, whichever you want to call it, it can tolerate, you know, full sun, or it can tolerate, it really likes like a shaded area. You can see how well she's growing. She's got so much new growth in here. We topped off with some nice fresh potting soil. So after a month or so, or 6 months, if you have your plant in a container for that long, because she's going to be in this pot for a very long time now. She's probably going to rock out the rest of her life in there until she gets really big, and then I'll repot her into something bigger. But, you know, she's going to stay in there for a while. So what I like to do is come in here every few months, top off with a fresh potting soil right around. You just sprinkle your soil in there, and then you shake your pot. If you shake your pot, it'll distribute all that soil evenly throughout the center and all that. You might have to sprinkle some in there, shake your pot, and then it'll flatten all that soil out for you. But yeah, that's my nephitis and the importance of transplanting. This is what you will get. So I can't wait to see you guys next time. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great day. See you next time.